Larry, it looks to me like everybody just took their money out of everything today and went home. I don't know about the only thing that was up were the short-term bonds. And anyway, you have been my first co-host, helping me with Good News Friday. How about tonight? It should be Good News 2023.
So yeah, 2023 was good to us. And I know people, wanted the stock to go through the roof. I'm not looking at you. I get that. And people were very disappointed with the pricing. And the deliveries are just going to eke out the 1.8 million. All of that is a given. But we did see some incredible move forward, and we really did see a setup for going forward for the 2024 year and setting up the back half of this decade extremely well. I'm very optimistic for Tesla.
Yep.
Whoa.
Bless you.
I'm very optimistic for Tesla, excuse me. And I think this year is a great setup. So I'm not displeased, to be honest.
No, and we also had the market finishing at all-time highs.
Yes, we did.
Almost across the board. Yields are dropping. Inflation has been defeated. In fact, I'm more worried about deflation. Well, I'm not even worried about deflation, of course, because I think it's the right kind of deflation. So we have some pretty good news with regard to the overall, the economy did well anyway.
Yeah, that's the area that, I have to be a little, I don't want to throw cold water on the fire at this point.
Oh.
I'm really worried. I think there are recessionary potentials on the horizon, quite serious threat of recession. I don't think the Federal Reserve gets the notion of what they do today only happens in March or April of next year, or what they did last month only happens in March. I don't think they understand that what they are seeing, the picture they're seeing really was caused by, what they did what happened several months ago, or even a year ago. And so they're acting as if they're looking through the windshield at the future. Mm-hmm. And really what they're doing is looking at the rear view mirror.
Yeah.
And so I always think that they overact in both directions.
Yeah. Well, that certainly seems to have been the case on the way on the first half of that. They raised too late and too much and too fast. I think I think even they might agree to that if they look in hindsight. The
problem with that is the offset isn't to start dropping immediately. The starting to drop does not help, because you've still got to live through the 6 months to the year that it takes to drop. And the problem is people's attitudes to spend and to work and so on are influenced by what they're seeing now. So you have this impedance mismatch all going on all the time. And so those people like Mayor Thaker and Elon Musk and Larry Goldberg who fear a recession, their fears haven't gone away.
Yeah. So okay. So I had a conversation with I'm all right. I've had a rough morning, Larry, with Bradford Ferguson last night. And I don't know whether you and I talked about this last Friday or not, because I can't keep it all straight. But 10% of the economy is housing. Yeah. That's the building of new homes combined with mortgages, and add to that the stuff you got to put in the house after you buy it. It's about 10% of the entire market. There is massive pent-up demand for housing. There is the interest rates coming down, which should encourage builders to build. It should encourage young people that have been waiting and waiting and waiting. When I say young people, I'm talking about everybody under 55 that have been waiting to be able to buy their first home. And so we could, that alone, I think, should be a pretty big stimulus that should start hitting by March, April. And I think it was Bradford or somebody said the only drawback on that is there might not be enough labor to get those homes built. But anyway, what do you think about housing as the savior if there was other negative things impinging on the economy?
Yeah, I hesitate to think that housing is sufficient to, it's possible. You know what? When you think about the size of housing and the pent-up demand, it's possible. My concern is just, that there just aren't that many people employed. We're at a really low level of participation in the economy. And the question is it demographics? I've tried to do the correlation. In fact, I started doing the correlation earlier this week, but I've had a very busy week. And so I have to go back to it. And so it does correlate to a degree, but not as much as you may think. So the biggest single contributor to the economy is wages. At the end of the day, that's the biggest single. And so a lot depends upon, wages and employment and the people willing to work.
So what you're saying here is that there may be plenty of jobs. We still see the numbers, outstanding opportunities are there. We see that the overall unemployment numbers based on the government's numbers is low, but you're saying there's a cohort of people and you're not sure whether those are under 30s.
No, they're older people. They're definitely over 50s.
They're over 50.
And certainly some are over 60s. But year after year after year in the past, the 65 to 75 cohort worked.
Uh-huh.
Not 100% of them and not 60% of them, but a very significant portion of them worked.
Yeah.
That's gone away.
Yeah.
And that went away starting with COVID, and it hasn't returned. And I think that has a real impact on GDP, and that cohort is getting larger and larger. So,
right.
I think we need to do a deeper dive into those numbers to try and determine what's happening. Look, at the end of the day, the economy is all about people.
Mm-hmm.
The more people we have, the bigger our economy is going to be, all other things being equal. And what we're saying is that the number of people is not growing the way it used to grow.
Right.
And so the growth in the economy is really being driven almost entirely by technology today.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And the fact is that the percentage of working population has reduced, percentage of the population that is working has reduced, even though our growth has been fairly good with the wobble for COVID. So we're becoming much more productive. And that's not because, more younger people than older people, a higher proportion of younger people than older people are working, we would say, but right, it's true.
Right.
But the big driver is technology. So I think housing can have an impact, but at the end of the day, growth really is going to rely upon that technology. I mean, what you say about the labor to build the houses, there may be something in that. It could be a bit of a restriction, but even absent that problem, I don't think that housing alone is sufficient. I think we have to see this continued evolution of the technology growth. I think it's very important.
Okay, and so when we get the productivity numbers at the end of January, that'll help us take a look, see if they are continuing to be at these really high levels.
Yep.
There's a lot, my expectation, of course, as you know, is that those productivity numbers will be at least as good as they were last time or in the ballpark. I have done a couple of conversations so far about the Xiaomi new vehicle introduction yesterday. Did you have a chance to see any of that, Larry? Did you see the video?
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it. I mean,
Did you watch the whole thing? Did you watch the whole thing?
No, I did not watch
Okay.
the whole thing. I
didn't
read
finish it
the
either.
summary. Why was it spectacular? Or?
Well, it's 4 hours and 15 minutes long. That's
No. I read the summary.
okay.
You know, I'm not one to get excited about new car announcements. Apple, we're going to build the Titan back 5 years ago. Toyota had 35 new models. General Motors had 20 some models. You know, when Xiaomi brings the car and shows us the car and gives us the pricing and delivery date, you know, I'll take notice. But it, you know, it's a pretty high-end car. Is it a threat to the X or the S? Not really, because it doesn't sell it's not going to be able to sell in this country.
Right.
Well, if it does, it'll sell. It's such a high price.
Right.
So I don't know why it's of great interest to us at this point.
The reason that I was interested primarily was that it looks to me like it's not truly a first principles introduction, but as he specifically, the CEO, I forget his name, specifically pointed out, they did not just reverse engineer what Porsche and Tesla were doing. Rather, they benchmarked Porsche and Tesla, primarily Tesla, if you watch the whole video. And they benchmarked them and said, we're going to do better than they do on all these metrics, which I think is at least not as good as first principles, but at least it's better than just reverse engineering and trying to copy. But
it's hardly first principles. Let's look at them and do one better. Now, you know, Porsche and Tesla produced those 4 years ago and 6 years ago and 8 years ago. I imagine Porsche and Tesla are looking to do a little bit better than themselves, you know. But you know, it's a halo car.
Yes.
So when you build a halo car, you know, Lucid built a fantastic halo car.
Yes, that's true. Going nowhere.
You know, so I mean, I'm not sure whether yeah, it's nice. It's very nice. Look, one thing is for sure. Tesla has to up its game in terms of new car introductions and speed to market of those new vehicles. We give them a pass because of the pandemic and what they went through in the supply chain to the pandemic and so on and so forth. But they have to lift their game, and I think they will lift their game. I think we're going to see it. You know, so yeah, I didn't rate that as a major event in the firmament.
Did you have a theory then as to what the heck happened to Tesla stock yesterday and today? Was it year-end tax selling? Was it bonds being a little bit off yesterday? Was it?
Yeah, well, the VIX went up yesterday. It trended up, which generally drives you know, Tesla down. It didn't really, it started trending down. The VIX started trending down today. You know, I look at the VIX all the time against the movement of the stock, and there's a lot of negative correlation, inverse correlation. So I think that had a lot to do with it. A lot of, you know, maybe profit taking, maybe it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. The other real possibility is short sellers in anticipation of Tuesday's end of day announcement.
Right.
So we could see more pressure on Tuesday. It's not unfair. I mean, the stock has run up a bit. The announcement, according to some, is going to fall short of of Wall Street's estimates. Wall Street's consensus, I should say.
Right.
So yeah, it's possible it's short selling, but I know you're looking for your 300. I get it, but between now and January of 2006, we should not look at the stock price.
Except, Larry, I got folks that listen to the channel who do day trade, and others that are using shorts, and others that are using leaps. I don't know, like you and me. But anyway, so the analyst consensus is 483. Tesla's target is 476. And
has Tesla published the Tesla compiled?
I don't know. I'm looking.
I didn't see it yet, so I'm not sure that is the analyst consensus, because it all depends on who you get the consensus from. I use the Tesla compiled consensus.
This one is from Troy Teslike. And so he says the analyst consensus is 483. He has popped his number up a little more. I guess I'm not supposed to say his number, although I would think that when his number is only 3 days from the actual number, he would not be concerned that we're spreading it beyond the Patreons. But he is, everybody seems to be pretty close on this. There's a couple of folks that are thinking it's going to be 500,000 or 508.
Yeah, there was an analyst who actually talked about 500, but I read that analyst report. It's Farragut, and he didn't say 500,000. He said 500,000 is his guess, but he hadn't updated it for a while. And he said he will accept. He would not be surprised anything in the range. And I think the range he had was like 480 to 505.
I see.
Something in that range.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's got 500, but that was a number from like almost 2 months ago.
I see. Okay. All right. So Larry, your biggest hopes, I know you're going to probably rejoin us sometime this weekend.
Yeah.
And give us a very deep dive into your expectations for 2024, and probably some of your fears as well. But in a nutshell, a couple or three of your biggest hopes, the things you would really like to see Tesla do in 2024.
Yeah, I'd like to see deliveries at 2.4 million. I think they can do that. I'm not one to cry over the pricing. I'm quite comfortable that the pricing is going to continue to decline somewhat. Quite comfortable about that. I think we're going to see a very a reasonable margin.
Okay.
I'm expecting a 2.4 million year. I'm expecting 100,000 Cybertrucks in that 2.4 million. I'm expecting a really significant, not a 20-30% per quarter, a really significant step up in energy revenue.
Yes.
I expect a continued solid increase in services revenue and margin, and I expect that regulatory credits will continue to grow.
Yes, because of Chrysler and everybody falling back, because it's slowing down.
Yeah, exactly. So on balance, I'm expecting a pretty good year.
Do you think we can double? Do you think we can double profits next year?
I haven't even looked at profits.
Oh, you haven't looked at profits yet. Okay. Or maybe more of a 50% increase. I know 50% would be very acceptable to the street.
Look, a 2.4 million year is going to generate quite a significant operating margin,
right?
Particularly if energy delivers the way I'm expecting it to deliver.
Right.
So that could have a real impact on the operating margin. So I'll take a look at that as well, but it sounds like there could be a very significant improvement.
Well, and the rental of all those Optimus robots will really increase the.
And I may differ a little bit about that.
Okay. Any big concerns for Tesla going into 2024?
You know, I expressed my concern about getting about motivating the new model generation. You know,
Right.
I'm expecting the factory to announce for India.
Right.
I'm expecting India and Mexico not to grow, you know, not to build that rapidly.
Uh-huh.
But I'm hopeful that the Chinese expansion will be as swift as the previous expansions. I just counsel that there's going to be some delay while, you know, in the original Japanese factory, they built it rapidly, but they took a while to negotiate it.
The Chinese factory. Yeah.
Chinese, sorry, I don't know why I'm mixing them up today. The Chinese factory, they built it very rapidly, but it took a while to get that paperwork done.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So the Chinese factory would be expanding to 1.3, somewhere in that range, I think you've said in the past.
Yeah, 1.25 is the number I have.
1.25. Okay, 1.25.
Yeah.
All right. And but you're really obviously we're not going to see any Mexico or India production in 2020.
No.
But we're the Austin facility starting to produce Gen 3 vehicles.
Yeah, we're going to see a very rapid rise in battery production, rise in battery production, 4680s. Yeah.
Okay, and you think that'll happen in the first half, or is that the second half, or do you have any clue?
It's going to step. So the first step is definitely going to happen in the first half.
Okay, cool.
In my judgment.
All right, that'd be cool. All right,
Yeah.
so we have Canaccord Genuity Managing Director George Giannar. I can't pronounce any of this stuff. Gianarkas. That's not how to pronounce it. Gianarka. Never mind. I'm going to give up. He says he can see $10 a share in 2025, and I don't think he was including any. He believes that FSD will happen, but I don't think he was including FSD in that $10 for 2025. Do you think cars and energy could be at $10 in 2025?
You know, I really need to look at it more accurately.
Okay.
It's possible. I mean, it's more than possible. Energy, you know, energy falls right to the bottom line.
Yes.
So it could have an impact, but that's a big number. $10 a share is a big number because
it's triple now.
30, yeah. So that's my that would be my, you know, reservation.
So by the way, I'm going to put the card up right here. I just did a deep dive on energy storage this afternoon, just before we went on. It was when I last looked, it was getting a lot of views. It's a very, very thorough look at the entire Powerwall and Megapack situation. And so I encourage everybody to go take a look at that. Well, Larry, let's see what the stock and let's see what all the markets did. We talked at the beginning that everybody sold everything. So what does that really mean? Well, it means that Tesla was down another 2% or $4.70, ending at 248.48. That's close to 300. I think I was right. We had the Dow down 20, NASDAQ down 83, and the S&P down 13. So the NASDAQ being down 83 compared to the Dow only down 20 would be showing some of my rotation, except that the Russell was down even more. So,
oh man,
yeah. So my rotation goes out the window when it comes to that. And Kathy Wood stocks were all like this. So this last 2 days would be back to my old theory about Tesla being treated like a Kathy Wood stock. Anyway, what do you think about the equities market today, Larry? What happened?
You know, I think people are trying to park their money for the week, for the long weekend. I think they're reassessing. We may see a little bit more of this in the new year. At the outset, I think people are a little nervous. Yeah.
You know,
it's almost like people aren't really focusing right now. They've done their business for the year.
And they did well. And they did
Very
well.
well. Very well.
So people could be trimming a little bit. Plus, somebody said the other day, and I kind of buy this, where the markets are right now pretty much fully incorporates the PE of the S&P given last quarter's numbers. And the new numbers are going to be coming in 2 weeks. So there may be some folks who are saying, you know what, I'd be okay to wait and see the first week of those profits and also the expectations of those companies for the balance of the year. And then that could give us the next leg if we get good results.
Could be. I always think that Tesla is a unique beast, but it's sort of reflected the market today. So could be that what you say is correct. But there were more sellers than buyers.
That's true.
That's the end of the day.
So the bonds, as I mentioned earlier, we had one of those days when the 10-year was actually, yields were actually up, and the 2-month was also up. Look at that, about the same, but the 2-year the yields were down. So the money was going into the middle this time, and the two ends, the money was flowing out. So,
but we still have an inversion.
yeah, huge.
At the end of the day, we still have an inversion, and that's the concern that Mayor, Elon, myself. I mean, we have this tiny little group that's in the
right.
extreme minority. But we'll see.
I think it might have been also Bradford last night. He threw this idea out that maybe the short-term yields have not come down yet because of year end, that there might be a hesitation to start moving into those as it might look like bad window dressing. And that maybe we'll start to see that my assessment that the short-term yields will start to come down rapidly in the new year. We might see the re-inversion taking place as we go into the new year. Anyway, of course,
that would be a very good sign.
Yeah,
that would be a very good sign if that really happens. If he's right, if you're right, that could be a good sign. So I'll withhold my judgment until we see what happens.
we have oil moving down again, Larry. The Red Sea, maybe people are happy that the U.S. fleet and the French fleet, I don't know, the English fleet and a bunch of other fleets have all moved in to that part.
I thought the French decided not to join.
I'm not sure. You may be right.
Yeah.
I was kind of being flipped because
Okay.
wasn't it you last week that said that Germans would not be part of the group? Yeah.
Yeah, but what counts is the American fleet. That's all that really counts. I mean,
yeah. So we'll see if they're able to. So natural gas, which had been up all week, got slapped today, down 2.23%. So that I don't know what that suggests. Earlier in the week, people were saying natural gas was up because of the Red Sea and also because the winter was starting to happen. But now all of a sudden it goes down 2.23. Could be profit taking, but it was interesting to see it starting to revert.
yeah. How did gold do today?
Gold was down 11, but it's still at 2,072. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, it was only down 0.5%. And copper was down 8.84.
That's for copper. That's a big move.
Yes, fairly big move. Yep.
That doesn't augur well for your thesis.
And then the dollar, of course, is down 10% and staying down. Unlikely that it will be moving back up while these yields are moving in the direction that they are.
Yeah.
So anyway, and finally, Bitcoin was down 564. at about 42,000. I'm pretty sure that almost everybody that's in Bitcoin is happy with that number.
Yeah. Unless they bought it last week.
Unless they bought it last, that would be the exception to that. All right.
Right.
So Larry, we'll look forward maybe to seeing you over the weekend.
Yeah.
Taking a much deeper dive into some of this 2024 expectation stuff. Hit like if you like having Larry on the show, because I know you do. And so that way I'm just trying to get more likes. That's what basically.
Is there a dislike button?
No dislike button, Larry.
No dislike button.
What they used to, oh, it was Facebook that used to have a dislike button.
Oh, really?
I don't think
Wow.
YouTube ever has. Yeah.
Yeah.
And and so hit subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. You want to get more and more Larry. And so you want to hit subscribe. You want to hit notify, because what's that going to do? Then you're going to be notified when Larry is going to be on over the weekend. So all three of those things would be good. And then follow Larry at Tesla Larry. Have I covered it all, Larry?
I believe you have.
You don't have a last minute thought?
Everybody have a happy new year.
There you go. And to all of you out there, I'll save my happy new year till Monday, but I'll just say today, it's been great talking to you.